Lady Gang. You know, the year was quite a year, and we have a present for you. If you didn't get Lady Gang clothing, now is your chance because shit is on sale. For instance, the velvet dress right now, the beautiful velvet dress with the jewels on the arm detail, it is $59. But then on top of that, everything else is an automatic 20% off. So head over there, get a sweater dress. I've worn mine 15 times already. The Swacket. That's right. You can be cozy all year long with the Swacket. 20% off. Go to shop.theladygang.com. Shop.theladygang.com and get yourself some goods.
As you guys all know, before I met Chris Knight, I was dating on Match. So let's talk about dating for a second. American singles have spoken, and being hot is out, obviously, and being emotionally mature is in. Match's annual survey found that for the first time in more than a decade, emotional maturity ranks higher than physical attractive on singles' priorities lists. Should have been like this forever. In fact, pre-pandemic, being attractive was number 1, and now it's all the way down to number 8. Emotionally mature adults are the new sexy. This is sexy mature for sure. There's nothing hotter than dating someone who starts their day before 11 a.m., doesn't use the word ghost, who loves open and honest communication, debates which is better, Roth or traditional IRA. You know, I'm just saying some of that like sexy mature stuff. So are you guys ready for something more? If you know what you want and you're not afraid to say it, download Match. And now messaging your top matches is free. Come on, it's the best time to be an adult. It's the best time to be dating, and the love of your life is out there. Head on over and download Match.
Well, what is this?
Welcome to the Lady Gang.
That's amazing. Say that again.
The Lady Gang.
Things are about to change around here.
Each week we catch up with Hollywood's hottest girl posse, Kelty Knight, Becca Tobin, and Jack Vanek.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Lady Gang. I am Becca Tobin here with Jack and Kelty. I haven't been saying your last name.
I know. I realized that the last episode that we did. I was like, are we recording a quickie? Or that's how we usually know when we start, because sometimes it's just like, who knows what we're doing?
Who knows? Well, it's Jack Vanek for those that you don't know, and Kelty Knight for those of you who don't know, which is most of you. We're
so excited to be here. We're so excited.
We are. What an adventure we're about to take together. But before we do that, it's time for
Good Week.
Yes, it is.
Bad Week. Oh, no.
Who would like to start?
I'll start, I guess. Okay. My good
week. The
week.
woman with the longest period flow starts this week.
Yes. Oh, okay. I was going to I'll change my good week.
Period-centric?
To have to do with woman, woman-centric. So,
okay.
When I was in the emergency room for my appendicitis, before they realized that I had it, I had to go get a CT scan, right? Where you have to they inject you with the iodine, then they look at your stomach to see how big your appendix is, blah, blah, blah. I get the CT scan, or I go to take it, and at the hospital, you're basically waiting around forever for nothing to happen until something finally happens. 3 hours go by, and they come back and they're like, oh, you have appendicitis. But before we do that, we found a big mass on your ovary. So now you need to go immediately into the I had to get an ultrasound at 5 a.m. at the ER before they took my appendix out. So this mass on my ovary was so important that they had to go look at it before they take my almost bursting appendix out of my body. So I go. They do the ultrasound. I come back and the doctor's like, yeah, it's a 4 centimeter mass on your ovary. And I was like, well, I think I just froze my eggs. I've been doing lots of ultrasounds on my lady parts. I feel like, when they find it and she's like, nope, this is like a whatever, worst bedside manner in the entire world. I finally
I have a horrible disease.
Yes. I'm like, something is so wrong. I go to my gyno 2 weeks later because I had to get a pap anyways. She goes in with the ultrasound. She's like, this is nothing. This is just a benign fibroid on your uterus, on the outside of your uterus. And I'm like, can you go talk to the emergency room doctor about their bedside manner? So I didn't think I was dying, because I'm sure they also knew it was this benign little mass on my uterus, but it was they made me feel like I was dying.
Wait, not to be Nurse Kelty, but how do they know it's benign? Should you get a second opinion?
I mean, it's a type of fibroid that I guess she was like immediately, she's like, you don't have to worry about this. She's like, but 4 centimeters is quite large. I'm like, that's just huge. Chilling on the inside of my stomach. It's on the outside of my uterus. So I guess it doesn't really cause any problems, but I guess that's my good week is that. Well, I was like, why you sent me into like, I was dying one way and then you had to go get an ultrasound like immediately. It was a lot.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But so we've already recorded with our Hummingway ladies.
Yes.
So we've gotten a lot of information that you guys are about to hear. But didn't she say that you wanted to check for fibroids for endometriosis?
Yeah, but I'm assuming that if they found, I mean, my gyno didn't say it had anything to do with, it wouldn't be like an endometriosis type of a fibroid. And I feel like if I had those, she would have found them, but I haven't really gotten checked specifically for that. But don't you think they'd find it if they're in there looking around anyways?
No, you'd be so surprised that doctors
don't.
I feel like they're laser focused. They're like looking for like, do you have blue eyes? And if you have like green eyes, they're like, nope. And that wasn't a good example, but you know what I mean. It's like they're looking for your flattened
Our gynos
toenail.
are essentially just looking for cancer in our cervix.
Babies. Yeah.
Well, that's
cancer or babies.
Sorry, that's what the thing was. I was talking to the doctor at the ER and I was like, well, I go get PAPs every 6 months because of my HPV coming back and forth.
Yeah.
And she was like, nope, they just look in your cervix. And I was like, fuck. I was like, why can't they just they go in the same place. You just literally have to turn it a little left to hit your ovaries each way.
Yep.
Whole thing. So good news is benign fibroid.
Good news. If men had ovaries and cervix and a uterus, they would have already made things that you could do at home to check your own shit.
While you're eating pizza.
And you could there'd also be an abortion clinic next to a Starbucks.
You could check your oil and also get your freaking ovaries checked out. Yeah. Just for free.
100%.
Yeah. The 100%. Sunday.
Must be nice.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my
good week.
That was a bad week turned into a good week. We'll put it at that.
Great. Okay. So you're going to be okay for now.
For now. Who knows?
Happy for you.
Who knows what's next?
Kelty?
I have a really good week. I'm really excited. Becca, I just want to preface this by saying don't get jealous of me and my talent, but I got a direct book on a movie.
Are you going to be an actress?
Okay, I got an email.
Is it
nice to meet you? This is actor and photographer Cole Sprouse. I'm emailing you to offer you an opportunity to be the lead actress in my upcoming movie called Moonshot. I feel like you are an underrated actress, obviously.
Underrated.
And you deserve more exposure. I would like to get to know you better in the process as well. Cool. You will be paid $30,000 for the role. Let me know what you think. Thank you for taking the time to read my email. We can discuss further. It's from thecolesprouse1@gmail.com.
Oh my God.
Subject, movie role offer.
Wow.
I've never been more obsessed with anything in my life. This
$30,000. It's a big paycheck, Kelty. Get it, girl.
Wait, Kelty, can you respond?
I'm going to respond and be like, I'm very interested. I'm a big fan of your work, and just see like what happens, right?
And then we need to he needs to invite you to meet up with him, but we'll do it in like a public location, and Becca and I can come and, spy from the outside.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. But wait, this reminds me of a funny story that didn't make the book. So I feel like I can tell it.
Like a
Sorry
lady
for
secret?
the tangent. In Lady Secrets. So I know a girl who broke up with a guy, or they had a bad breakup, and he moved on with this beautiful, beautiful, like Eastern European model. And of course, she Insta stalks these people. She's obsessed, just obsessed. Well, the model also is an aspiring actress. And so my friend got so hung up on the idea that not only did she get dumped for a beautiful model, that because this model's so beautiful, she had this idea in her mind that she was going to become like the next Julia Roberts, and she couldn't live with the prospect of her ex getting to be with a model and then also movie star, because we spiral like lunatics.
Sure.
She created a fake email address and emailed the model actress asking if she'd be in a film or would be willing to audition for a film. She was being very highly considered, but she just needed to see some footage of her acting. If she could put something on tape for her.
Oh,
So
did she?
She did it, and it was the worst thing you've ever seen in your life. It was an absolute, listen, God is fair. She is beautiful. She got the guy, but the girl couldn't act her way out of a sandbox. And it was like horrifying. And my friend was like, I just needed to have that happen so that I could rest easy knowing it wasn't also going to be Heidi Klum, Julia Roberts hybrid that my boyfriend left me for.
Wow, that's going to extreme lengths, and I really support it.
I support it too, and I was like,
100%.
you better send me that motherfucking video, and she did.
Wow, blackmail that she'll have forever.
Yep.
Kelly, we need you need to promise
gonna
us
do that. I can save
you're
the
gonna
email.
respond. Okay.
Is that someone's
do it. I'll do it.
ex-girlfriend, or is that Chris Knight's ex-girlfriend reaching out to you with a fake audition?
No, but my bad week might be. I got an email from a suspicious email address.
It wasn't Cole Sprouse one at
yousuck.com.
Yousuck.com?
I got an email from keltysucks at yousuck.com.
There's a yousuck.com you can use for email addresses.
The message.
That's incredible.
The message is titled Kelty Sucks, and the message, the body of the email says "You suck."
That's it? That's the whole thing.
Yousuck.com doesn't go to anything. How do we get
No,
that?
I think it was it was submitted on keltynight.com, a site that nobody goes to, and it was submitted on the thing, so you can like write what your email address is. So I feel like this
it's
email
just like a
address
fake
doesn't
one.
exist. Keltysucks at yousuck.com would actually like. Here's my thought. I had a giggle about this, and then I thought, what if I took that as my email address? Like keltysucks at gmail.com. People are like, hey, can I email you? And I'm like, yeah, it's keltysucks at gmail.com.
That would be such a
Just add some
baller
levity
move.
to it.
It is a baller move. And you know what? It's like one of those things you just take control before other people can knock you down. You're like, yeah, I fucking suck. See? keltysucks at gmail.com.
Rejection at AOL.com.
Story of my life. I mean,
Wrinkles at yahoo.com. Okay,
Wow,
Becca.
I love it.
this is so when my audition videos get leaked, you already know that I suck because I've already told you all that I suck all the time.
Exactly.
It's a preemptive suck.
So you're gonna be like, oh, she's not as bad as she tells us she is.
Yeah.
I always feel that
expectations
way
on the
about you.
ground.
I always feel that way about you.
What? That
Not
my
gonna lie.
expectations are so low.
You're like, whatever. It's just like I can't get booked on anything. And then I watch you in a Christmas movie, and I was like, I feel joy deep in my soul because of this bitch.
But it's this, I don't know, manipulation that she does.
It's
Expectation.
like manage expectations.
Yeah. No, it's great. You definitely want to shoot for the ground instead of the stars.
Yes, for sure.
Speaking
speaking of shooting for the ground, I have a new title: author, podcaster, actress, and binfluencer.
The f- is a binfluencer.
Well, a binfluencer, the person on the street who always puts their wheelie bins out first on bin day, and the rest of the neighborhood follows.
I did see this. It's so good.
And Zach and I are the binfluencers of our street, and it feels fucking great.
Oh my God. That's so good.
Are you like, what is it? If trash day's Tuesday, you're like first thing Monday morning, they're out within the 24 hours?
Pretty much. So trash day for us is Friday, and it goes out Thursday bright and early.
That's right. Get them out there.
Binfluencer.
Somebody has to do it because everybody else would just forget.
Becca, can you please get dressed up in like a Prada outfit and get like an Instagram, Zach to take you like an Instagram husband picture of you like taking out the bin?
Binfluenced. Yep.
Influenced.
Okay, so that's my good week. I felt like it was really wonderful. Bad week is it actually ties into the trash cans. My binfluencing is really important, and I would take a photo and do a photo shoot with these trash bins, but the inside of these trash bins are so disgusting, and it's been cold, so I don't want to take the hose out because if like one drop of water gets on me when it's this cold outside, I'll have a freak out.
Yeah.
So I was like, what do I do? Well, this big truck, like God heard me, opens up, and this truck comes by, and everyone on our street, turns out they get their trash cans professionally cleaned. Like once or twice a month, this guy comes, he's young and he's cute, and he scrubs your bins and makes them sparkly and new. And I was like, Zach, this is amazing. I'm going to ask him how much it is. And I walk over and I'm like, hey, how much is it for you to do my 2 trash cans and blah, blah, blah. It was like $180.
No, thanks.
What?
Why don't you just wash them with your own hose?
Because it's cold out and I don't want to get cold. Anyways,
that is definitely not worth $180 to clean out a trash can that's going to get trashy in a second.
But all my neighbors do it, and they can afford to do it. So what am I doing with my life that I can't afford? I mean, that's pushing it for me.
That's a crazy spend.
Hey, speaking of cold, Becca, I wanted to let you know that it's minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit at my brother's house today.
That's upsetting. Go make some snow angels.
What do you even do? You can't go outside.
You can't really go outside. It hurts to be outside. And your eyelashes, I have like falsies on. I don't know why. For my brother.
Why?
You and your brother having
pull it together.
Romantic nights.
Yeah.
Batting your eyelashes.
So you need to look the best for your brother.
They're not even, you know what it is? It's like a shitty pair because you can't even tell I'm wearing them right now. Okay, anyway, we got to get to the show.
Okay.
When we come back, your period.
Okay, ladies, listen up. If you are like me and you aren't necessarily a goddess in the kitchen, but you like to eat at home and you like warm, delicious meals, Freshly is where it's at. Or if you love cooking and sometimes you want a night off of cooking, it is amazing. Get delicious, chef-made, nutrient-packed meals delivered straight to your door, no cooking required. Fresh and never frozen, ready to heat and enjoy in just 3 minutes. So basically you use the website or the app to find meals that fit your lifestyle with plans that work for your dietary needs, preferences, taste, and family style. You choose from over 50 nutritionist designed entrees like their classic steak peppercorn, multi-serve sides like their masterful mac and cheese, and their new line of plant-based meals. I just had a protein-packed chicken parm. Oh, delicious. So stop stressing about dinner right now. Freshly is offering our listeners $40 off your first 2 orders when you go to freshly.com/lady. That's $40 off at freshly.com/lady. That's FRESHLY.com/lady.
This episode of LadyGang is so inspiring, and I hope we're inspiring you to get your fitness game on. There are so many LadyGangers using Obey Fitness. It's so easy. Why are you wasting time driving to the gym? Why are you wasting time on $1,000 freaking bike with another brand to like bring and then get sick of, and then you got to sell it on Craigslist or whatever? Obey Fitness, you don't need anything. If you want to have a few weights, if you want to have a band that you got at Home Goods, great. If you don't even need a single supply. You can lay down a towel in your living room and do it. Tons of classes every week, live, replay, 45-minute yoga, 28-minute sculpt, 10-minute meditation, or a butt blast, whatever you need, it's there. And I just love this platform. It's so easy to add your friends, find your friends, track your classes, get inspired. It's such a great community. So check out obeyfitness.com. Use our code LadyGang and you're going to get a month free. You can have the healthiest, most shapely, most sweat-induced, radical, endorphin-filled month with Obey Fitness absolutely free. And then when it's not free anymore, it's super affordable. So use our code LadyGang at obeyfitness.com.
So here on the Lady Gang, we like to keep it extremely real, sometimes too real, but we talk about how challenging relationships can be. We are no strangers to getting distant occasionally with our partners, or just frustrated, or just missing communication. I want to tell you about this new app. It is so cool. Zach and I have been using it, and it's called Relish. So if you're feeling a little bit distant, like I said, this app has fun things that you can do together to get the relationship stronger. So they have these little quizzes that you can take where you can take them in such a short period of time and you learn so many things about each other. Plus, if you need extra support in your relationship right now, you can talk to qualified relationship coach on demand. They will help you both set goals for your relationship and reach them. Seriously, this app is amazing. They have interactive quizzes, games, and exercises all grounded in relationship science that has been proven to help couples feel more connected. So right now, Relish is offering our listeners 50% off their Relish subscription. Go to hellorelish.com/lady to receive 50% off today. That's hellorelish.com/lady.
Today's episode is brought to you by Shopify. Now, we love Shopify over here at the Lady Gang. We use it for all of our e-commerce, and Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big businesses. So upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell anywhere and everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. So like mine and Lady Gang's, Shopify powers over millions of businesses from first scale to full scale. You can reach customers online and across social networks with an ever-growing suite of channel integrations and apps. We're talking Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and so much more. And you can synchronize your online and in-person sales. Gain insights as you grow with detailed reporting of conversion rates, profit margins, and beyond. So go to shopify.com/LadyGang, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business today with Shopify. Go to shopify.com/LadyGang right now. That's shopify.com/LadyGang.
Now back to the Lady Gang.
It is a big day for your fallopian tubes, if you still have them, ladies. 6 years after Lady Gang came to be, we are having our first ever period-focused episode, which seems like we may have made a grave mistake in the Lady Gang. Our star today is an actress who's in one of my favorite indie movies of all frickin' time, Skateland, but also in a little-known franchise named Twilight. She's a Teen Choice and Young Hollywood Award winner, and most importantly, she's an adult who looks great wearing hair bows, inspiring me to keep on my hair bow journey into my 40s. She's joined today by the co-founder of the new brown Hummingway, Olivia Khoury, and one of the brightest lady docs on earth, the author of Beyond the Pill, Dr. Jolene Brighten. All hands on deck, people. It's time to talk about our periods. Please welcome to the Lady Gang, Dr. Brighten, Olivia, and Ashley Greene.
Hello.
Ashley Greene Khoury.
Ashley Greene Khoury. Oh my God, of course.
I'm so excited about both Skateland and the Hairbow comment. This is so exciting for me.
Skateland was
Deep cuts.
epic. If you guys have, I don't remember like if I interviewed you at some point about it or why it got into my world, but it was so dope. And hair bows are dope too. So
Yeah, especially as I'm mid-30s and I was like, how do I feel young again? Put a hair bow in and it works like a charm.
That's exactly what it's the JoJo Siwa in you, you know?
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to have your cheekbones and like that little cute indent you have here, like where your face is so beautiful, like model face. And I think it would look better with the hair bow, but live your life. So I want to start by telling you guys that we have never had our community be more engaged about an upcoming episode than having the three of you here. So obviously you're doing the right thing with your lives and you're creating the right product and the right website, because we posted in our Facebook group, hey, this is who we're having on, and we could podcast straight for the next 6 months and wouldn't get to all the questions that people have. So thank God for you. So how did this come together, this new brand, and the site is so informative? Tell me a little bit about that.
That's so exciting. That makes me so happy because I think, you know, in the startup world, things are tough sometimes, and hearing stuff like that, just, it does make us feel like, oh yeah, we're definitely doing the right thing. And there's so many people who relate to what, you know, my journey was or Olivia's journey was. But basically the whole thing started a couple of years back. I got off hormonal birth control and my body went haywire, and all of a sudden I had no control over what was happening to me and I had no knowledge of it. And I went back to my healthcare provider and was met with kind of like, oh, here's something you can use to get back on hormonal birth control, or here's kind of a Band-Aid fix. And it was really, really frustrating and very, very lonely for me as a 30-something-year-old woman to go like, I don't know how my body works and I can't seem to get answers. And so that was kind of, for me, the genesis of Hummingway. And I went to Olivia and said, you know, I went to my doctor. I can't get any answers. I know that you have a household that is very different than mine. Her mom was a homeopath when she was growing up, and said, you know, what do you do? Can you help me, basically? And that's kind of how, you know, our partnership began. And then, you know, Liv has kind of her own story, I think, of how she started diving into this space as well.
Yeah, 3 years ago, I had a very similar experience. I was diagnosed with premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which is commonly known as PMDD. And essentially about 2 weeks before every period, I have PMS on steroids. So mood swings, anxiety, irritability. It's really frustrating. Often feels like bipolar, but you know that it's not because it works like clockwork. It comes right before your period. And so because I'm coming from a functional medicine household, I knew that I couldn't do medication or birth control. So I decided to start looking at CBD and adaptogens and ways of like mapping my diet and nutrition to my entire cycle to figure out to rebalance my system to manage these symptoms. And Ashley and I started talking to each other and realized that there wasn't a space that was combining products and community and education. So people are having troubles with their periods can come and learn about their bodies and discover products that focus on long-term health benefits versus just these short-term quick fixes. So we got together, we got our medical board together. Dr. Jolene Brighten was one of the first ones that we picked because she's been teaching us something new about our bodies every single day. To all of your listeners, follow her on Instagram. You will never stop learning. So yeah, that's kind of how we started. And we started with our first product, which, as you talked about, is the period patch. And it's for cramp pain that's related to period pain or ovulation pain, because there really wasn't anything that's non-toxic on the market for that works like quick, like Midol. We're trying to get people off of just being addicted to Midol, because myself, I was taking like 8 a day with my cramps. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. So here we are.
What was your aha moment? Like just a little like adjustment that you made in your cycle, or something you learned from Dr. Brighten that would be something that maybe our girls don't know.
Yeah, the biggest aha moment is that you actually should be working out differently throughout the entire month, eating differently throughout the entire month, socializing differently, having sex not differently, but at different times. And those little adjustments and sleeping and not stressing are going to do more for your body and your cycle and rebalance your system than any other pill or supplement out there. And those little shifts, and it sounds like a lot, but you just have to track on Clue, track in a journal, and those small shifts will change your life.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that was definitely huge for me, is like for the longest time I was working against my body and so frustrated because I didn't know what was going on. And I was just like, oh, I have my period. And all of a sudden I have these mood swings and just kind of was like dreading every month that I knew these things were going to happen. And now I can kind of look and go, oh yeah, my hormones are going to fluctuate during whatever moment. So, there's the period, but there's also the whole menstrual cycle that is made up of different phases. And so you have your period, you have your follicular phase, you have ovulation, and you have your luteal phase. And throughout the course of that, your hormones are going to kind of ebb and flow. And the good news is, if everything is working the right way, you can kind of predict what that ebb and flow is going to be and start working with your hormones versus against them. And that is just wildly fascinating and exciting, because I think a lot of us for so long have been taught, like, you get your period and it's, when it happens, it's a curse and like, it's probably painful and you just have to deal with it. You should probably try and cover it up. And honestly, all of that is bullshit. And so being able to take charge of that and use your cycle as a power tool, it's incredibly freeing.
I love this so much. Okay, before I want to get to Dr. Brighten, and we have so many questions that I want you to answer. But before we do, I just want everyone who's listening to understand what Hummingway is. I mean, you do have the patches, but the site is like, I would explain it like it's the Goop for your period. Like, there's all these blogs, there's all these ideas, there's all this information, whether like for what you're going through. And I'm sure you guys are continuing to add to it. But what do you get? What's your hope that you get when you go to the site or follow the brand?
I think that one of the biggest things, one of our goals, is to help people understand their bodies and be able to feel like they're a part of a community and they are not alone. Because again, like I mentioned, I think we've been preconditioned to kind of ignore these things or push them down or not talk about them. And what we really want to do at Hummingway is to blow that all out of the water and say, let's talk about it, because these things are happening inside of our body and it can be a really beautiful thing. And there's so many people that are going through the same thing that you're going through. And then giving you the tools to be able to kind of be your own health advocate. Because I think, we're not saying at Hummingway, don't go to your doctor, Western medicine is bad. We're saying, let us give you the tools to be able to kind of figure out what you feel is happening inside of your body, and then go armed with that note, of like, this is my periods are heavy at this time, or I feel this way this time of the month, or I think I might be suffering from this. And then being able to work with your doctor versus kind of going in and feeling like you're not seen. So that's a really big part for us. And then the other part is giving people non-toxic solutions, because that was a really big issue for us as well, is that, what I was offered were a lot of things that I didn't want to put into my body that were kind of Band-Aids versus looking at what the root cause of the problem was. And I think that's so important too, of being able to go, we're going to give you things that you know are safe, but also that are going to look at the root cause of whatever the symptom is and try and kind of rebalance you versus putting a Band-Aid over something and allowing it to just continue to probably get worse.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So you're amazing. I'm going to grab my notebook. We're ready. LadyGang, here we go. Okay, so first, Dr. Brighten, first of all, can you just explain the 4 phases of the cycle? Ashley just touched on it, but can you really dig us in?
Yeah, well, let's break it down. Where we're going to start is with the period. And I will just say, we always focus on the period, and I think because it's like the thing that hijacks our life the most, that and TMS. But to understand that as we move through this, ovulation is really the main event. Ovulation is what your body is after. It is what everything is building up for, and it's where all the like really good stuff lies. And so I want to say that because I am going to start with the period because it's day 1 of your cycle. It's the easiest day to identify something's happening. I have blood flow. So that's going to take place days 1 through maybe 3 or all the way to 7. And so when it comes to a period 2 or less, we're like something might be going on. More than 7, we're concerned about that. The average is going to be in that range of that 3, 5, maybe 7 days. And that's the period. Now, the next phase, we call the follicular phase, which I have to explain because if you go to your doctor and you say, oh, my period phase versus my follicular phase. In medicine, we recognize the follicular phase as all one phase. And the reason is because, again, ovulation is what everything is working towards. And so your brain, even while you're bleeding, has your ovaries on a different agenda, and that's to get an egg ready. And so all of that is the follicular phase to build a follicle. That's where your eggs are hanging out, is in that follicle. And so does that mean like, oh, if I say the period, like that's wrong? No. And why do we categorize the period as something different? Because you feel different. Your uterus is doing something different. Energy feels different. You feel different. Even though, like, reproductively speaking, your body's like, green light, let's make a baby, let's go. So we've got, just to summarize, we've got the period, late follicular phase, and then we have ovulation, which is a 1-day event. And that is when your egg is released from the ovary. And we all want this. You know, if you're on birth control, you won't have this. If you're on the pill, you're not going to release an egg. But if you're not, you want this because after you release that egg, there is a temporary endocrine structure known as the corpus luteum left behind. And this is just basically the little place where the egg came out and it's left behind in the ovary, and that's going to secrete progesterone. And that takes you into your luteal phase. As you know, Olivia was explaining, PMDD is a little bit different when it comes to the progesterone play in the brain, but for the majority of us, that's going to be really the sweet spot, is getting those progesterone levels up. Now, even so, if you don't want to have a baby, that's okay. We don't have to tell your body. We can still ovulate. We can still track everything. We can still avoid getting pregnant. And if your body picks up on you are not, in fact, pregnant, there will be no beta HCG. So the brain says, you know what? Tear it down and start it all over again. And that is when you'll shed your endometrial lining, and now you're back to your period. And that's really the 4 phases. And contrary to popular belief, it's not always 28 days. In fact, very few of us have 28-day cycles. So you might range anywhere from 21 to 35. And so your 4 phases, and this is what I love about Hummingway, is it's all about giving you the information, normalizing what's normal, and then having you apply it to your body so that you can recognize that maybe your period phase is 7 days, or maybe it's 5 days. And that's what's true for you. And that's really what matters. And for you to understand that there is a lot of fluidity when it comes to the menstrual cycle, in terms of like, we're always taught this really like, you know, it's 28 days and ovulation is always on day 14. It's not, by the way. Really, it's about tuning into your own body and understanding how do you fit in to this framework.
Jack, how long's your period?
28 days, baby.
No. How long is your bleeding?
Oh, my period's at least 7 days.
So proud.
Jack has the longest, most heavy period we've ever known in our lives.
Well, and that's, I mean, I'm listening to everything that you guys are saying, and it's like, I do none of these things to help me out at all. So this is very...
This is for you, Jack. You're welcome. This is private.
I'm that person that just kind of like lives in the horribleness of my period, and I just allow it to happen, and I'm writhing in pain for like 3 days straight, and I haven't helped myself out at all. So this is very informative for me personally.
So I have a question for you, Dr. Brighten. What happens if the Oh, wow. The egg comes out and the little packet is left behind, and now it's going to make the progesterone. But what if it doesn't make the progesterone?
If it doesn't make the progesterone,
then
that's
I'm sad,
what we call
right?
the corpus luteum fail. Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, if it doesn't make the progesterone, typically periods are going to be coming, with more frequency. So less than 21 days, for example. Or if it's just inadequate, so you're just not making enough, then we can see what gets termed as estrogen dominance. So estrogen is a wonderful hormone. It gets such a bad rap, but it is such an amazing hormone. I mean, it's why we have curves. It helps with our libido. And it does just so many amazing things. Fine lines and wrinkles, yes, say bye-bye if you've got estrogen, right? So estrogen is amazing. Write that down, everyone. But it does get a bad rap because if it is left unchecked by progesterone, we get overstimulation. And so we've got breast tenderness. We can have those heavy periods that follow. We're going to feel a lot more irritable. We can see water retention happening. Progesterone is actually a great diuretic, so it's helping with the fluid balance. And so that is the person who's like, I gained 5 pounds like every time before my period. If you're just gaining and losing weight like that, it's usually water weight going on. So if you don't have enough progesterone, that's where we get those symptoms of estrogen dominance coming in, and then the symptoms of low progesterone. So how do I know if it's just way too much estrogen versus too little progesterone? By the way, it's usually too little progesterone, and then estrogen's just not checked. You know this because you're going to feel a lot more anxious. You're going to have difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep. You're going to feel like the panic button in your brain is just being tapped relentlessly. And this is where I say, I say this in Beyond the Pill because I ask my patients this all the time. And it's, the week before your period, or sometimes 2 with PMDD, do you feel like you, A, want to run away to the woods and never be seen again? B, unalive someone. Oh gosh, I've been so influenced by TikTok. It used to say kill someone, but now I say unalive someone.
Oh my God. I was like, unalive someone. I was like, what? I was like, well, I've never felt that.
Social media censor. So you don't so I can keep educating on social media and not trigger any censorship where they're like, whoa, what's she talking about? And I'm like, I'm talking about PMS and you don't know where I'm at in my cycle, so you might want to chill.
Right.
But anyhow, so we've got the A, we've got the B, and we've got C, which is do all of the above. And most of the time women feel like all of the above when that progesterone is too low. And, that's something that, at Hemingway, the things that you'll find, and I've had an opportunity, to review what we're putting out there, but you'll find these simple things like, hey, you know what you might want to do is actually increase your vitamin C and increase vitamin B coming in. We always start with diet, lifestyle, and then we think about supplementation later. But, if that's going on, the other thing you might want to think about doing is getting around your girlfriends, the one that builds you up, not the ones that make you feel like you're totally drained when you leave them, because community can actually help with our progesterone levels. And so being social in a way that works for you. And why I say that is because if you're an introvert, like I'm an introvert, and you told me, oh yeah, your period's coming, you should go hang out in a big crowd, I would be like, no.
I want unalive.
No.
Yes, you are unalive to now. But it's something, but for me to have a connection and a deep, meaningful conversation with someone who's close to me, that's going to help me. That's what's going to work for me. And so again, I think that we probably should have started this whole thing. I should have started with everybody listening. Ask what's true for you. Take this information and ask, what works for me? Because intuitively, everything we're talking about and everything that we teach you, you kind of already knew, but you needed somebody to lay it out for you, to validate it for you, and for you to really have it put in a framework that helps you conceptualize what it is that you've been experiencing.
I love that. So the next thing is I want to talk to Ashley about coming off the pill. You talked about this a little earlier, and I want to bring in a LadyGang question. We got many questions about, I think that's just the age group of our girl. She's like, she's done it. for acne or for whatever. And now she's like, ooh, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. There's a question that came in that said, I took the pill from 16 to 23-ish, stopped taking it. I have a totally normal, regular period, but I've gained 20 to 30 pounds, low libido, low energy. I've had my thyroid tested, my gyno and my talk. Don't take me very seriously when I say that I'm fighting against something. What would be my next step? I feel hopeless, stuck in a body that isn't my normal, healthy self, even with a good diet and regular exercise.
Did she say that she did blood work?
She
said she got her thyroid checked.
She got her thyroid tested, so probably some blood work. But you came off the pill and you had a negative experience too. So talk a little bit about that, and then we can kind of talk into her question as well.
Yeah, definitely. I would say, I mean, my first thing is always do blood work, because it really gives you a very in-depth panel, because it really gives you a great insight. And then I think, I'll probably pop this over to Dr. Brighten after I kind of give my experience, because I think she might be better to kind of answer maybe why she's experienced that weight gain. I didn't experience that. I though went through, basically, I was on birth control since I was 16, and I had essentially no menstrual cycle symptoms until I got off birth control. And I know a lot of people will go, well, why would you get off of it? But the thing that you take away from that is that everything that was happening was still there. It was just shut down, and it was just being kind of covered up. So all of these things were symptoms that I needed to address. I just didn't see them. So when I came off hormonal birth control, I all of a sudden got adult hormonal acne. I had insane mood swings. God bless my husband. And I had like almost debilitating cramps. And so I kind of, went from experiencing nothing to going, oh, I have all of these things. What do I do? And it was a bit of a process for me, but I had to start kind of, I read Dr. Jolene Brighten's book and kind of cleansed out my body, but had to go through various steps to kind of target each one of those symptoms. And for me, what was most helpful was actually my diet played heavily into that. So I realized that going on kind of more of a inflammatory diet and staying away from processed foods and sugar, I cut out dairy, and it kind of turned everything around. That helps really on a high level with my skin, but also with the cramps that I had. So I find like if I, obviously alcohol is a big trigger, but if I have dairy, certain like sugars, I end up experiencing the cramping again. So for me, it was really just about kind of really diving deep and listening to my body and going, all right, let me kind of trial and error and see what affects me and what doesn't. And then, once I got kind of on that path, I can now kind of see like, oh, this is a trigger for me. This is a trigger for me. And everyone's different. So you kind of have to go on that journey.
And Dr. Brighten, another question that came in right after this, and it has to do with it, so you could kind of answer both at the same. So we have so much. She said, most docs don't test hormones at all. What's the best way to test your hormone levels? And what do I ask for when I go to the doctor? So all of that sort of tied up in a bow. No big deal, please.
Yeah. Okay. So this actually, we're going to put it all together now. So every human should listen to this, because it's important in women's health that most doctors are taught that women's hormones fluctuate so much that there's really no point in testing them. And what would we do anyways? So when we go to test, this is what we ask ourselves as doctors. Will the testing change the treatment? If the answer is no, you do not run the test. What is the treatment they're going to give you if you say, I have hormone problems of any kind? And not really like any kind, like insulin and thyroid aside, although thyroid hormone issues can result in irregular periods. And so you are sometimes put on the pill. So if you've got irregular periods, heavy periods, if you are experiencing acne, headaches, anything that's like basically that is a female hormone problem, the answer is the pill. If I test you, if I'm in the conventional paradigm, if I test you, is it going to change that? No, because all I have for you is the pill. So why would they test you? It's actually the right call. And that's so frustrating to hear, right? That they're making the right call, because it's not going to change their treatment. And what are they going to do with that information? So to go back to this person who has the unexplained weight gain, the first two things that always come to mind is this PCOS a very common condition to be covered up by hormonal birth control, because it presents with acne and irregular periods and oftentimes hair growth on chin, chest, abdomen, hair loss on the head. But when you're young, it's mostly the acne and what is up that I never know when my period's coming. And the answer is, let's give you the pill. And it's important to recognize that when you're on the pill, those bleeds that you get are pill bleeds. They're not periods. And this matters because you don't need them. So if you have if you are naturally cycling, you need to have a period. It's very important. The absence of your period is called amenorrhea. It is a very serious medical condition that we know is associated with like osteoporosis developing at a young age. That's concerning. Your pill bleed is not necessary. And so it's really important that we use the language to distinguish between the two.
Wow.
Otherwise, it's confusing when you say, you don't need that period on the pill. And people are like, oh, I don't need my period. Well, no, wait, you do need your period. Wait, but you just said, oh, okay, yeah. So let's just change the language here. We've got pill bleeds and we've got periods. Now, when you come off, if you have unexplained weight gain, we think PCOS and we think thyroid disease. Now, as you were talking about with the lab testing, sometimes what we run into is that doctors will test, but they won't actually interpret it from like a functional perspective. And that is the perspective of like what's optimal. So I'm board certified in naturopathic endocrinology. So I'm trained to look at things from this is disease and this is thinking about becoming disease. So let's just head it off at the pass and make sure that doesn't happen. So depending on your doctor's reference range, they probably tested only a TSH, which is a brain hormone. That is what your brain says to your thyroid. And your thyroid responds with mostly T4. So they may have tested free T4. Now, the trouble is that these reference ranges are set on who goes to the lab and what's the average of the person that goes to the lab. So who goes to the lab? Elderly people usually go to the lab and sick people.
Wow.
So now we're comparing a healthy 20-something to somebody, to a population that's maybe in their 60s or a population that has thyroid disease. And we're saying, well, given how sick and bad these people are, you're not so bad. But for your body, it's not working and it's not right. So with that, a TSH above 2.5 is where we start saying, something might be going on. Additionally, we want to look at thyroid antibodies, TPO and thyroglobulin antibodies, because your symptoms now can be the beginning of the number one cause of hypothyroidism, that is low thyroid disease, that is associated with weight gain, and that is Hashimoto's, an autoimmune condition. And autoimmunity, you'll sometimes see weight gain because you're inflamed, and it's the way the body protects itself. Now, to your question about how do we ask doctors, you may need a different doctor. That may be the reality. There are particular times to get tested. And here's really the thing that I encourage people when I'm educating to ask your doctors to say, so I want to have a baby. What labs would you run? And you'll be surprised how many more labs they're willing to offer you, because in medicine, we still reduce women down to their reproductive capacity. Do you want to have a baby? So the question usually goes like, oh, you have hormonal problems? Do you want to have a baby? No. Here's the pill. But what about my problems? Don't worry. We'll worry about that when you want to come off birth control. When should I come off birth control? You never need to come off birth control unless you want to have a baby. Okay, I want to have a baby. Oh, sorry, you've had this condition all these years and it's causing you all these problems and you're going to struggle getting pregnant. Why didn't we address that then? Oh, because you didn't want to have a baby. Let's just take the baby out of the equation and just say, okay, we've got a human who deserves to thrive and feel their best sitting in front of me. What should we do?
I have a question just hearing that and probably girls listening. So the period bleed is not your period. And you're saying we need to have our period. I know that you're a doctor and you probably can't say birth control is the devil, but we can. So, is the general consensus that maybe we should be trying to find other alternatives to not get pregnant?
I think that we deserve options, right? Yes. I think that it's really funny because I was tagged in this social media post where this man was asking a lawyer, tell me how to avoid child support. How can I avoid having to pay child support? And I commented and said, here's the hack. A vasectomy. Yeah.
Literally.
Did that never occur to you?
Amen.
And so, but that's that's just the sad place we are with options. I personally wouldn't say that hormonal birth control is the devil. I'm a first-generation college student. I used the pill for 10 years. I come from this huge Hispanic family where everybody has lots of babies starting as teenagers, and that just wasn't for me. I wanted something different. And so I did have that tool. I did get really bitter, though, when I discovered, not until medical school, then I'm not even fertile, but one day out of the month, I've got 24 hours to get pregnant with that egg, that my fertile window only exists to a longer period of time of like 5 to 6 days because of how long sperm lives. And nobody thought to tell me that. And so I think whether or not you want to make fertility awareness your contraceptive, of choice, like your way to prevent pregnancy, you still should understand it, because it's one of the best ways to get really intimate with your own body. And it's what I call being a tourist in your own city. Using fertility awareness method, going in the bathroom, getting a mirror, looking at your own genitals, like be a tourist in your own city so that you can become the expert guide to what is happening in your body.
Before we move on to the next topic, we had so many girls with PCOS questions. I mean, we could come back and do an entire episode, and maybe we should. One of the things that stood out, people were like, I fourth this question. What else can be done to treat PCOS that doesn't include birth control?
Oh my gosh, this is my favorite. So everybody listening, good job for even thinking about that, because most of y'all get diagnosed and you're given the pill and maybe more metformin instead on your way. And PCOS, while it presents with these androgen excess, so this testosterone excess picture, it's actually rooted in cardiometabolic issues. So we've got insulin dysregulation that can happen in some. We've got inflammation taking place in some. It is not... really, we've got many different types of PCOS taking place. It looks different in different people. We're not even sure what the cause of it is, but everybody gets the same treatment, right? Whether or not you're complaining about your cycle. And the reality is I have so many patients through things that you will just find on Hummingway, which you're going to be like, wow, that's actually like relatively simple, of making dietary shifts. Your doctor's not going to talk to you about that. I'm a bit of a unicorn in that I actually have a degree in nutrition, and that's what I studied first. But PCOS responds very well to nutrition. It responds very well to lifestyle. This is a great place that if you look at Hummingway, we've got resources about how to exercise with your cycle. PCOS responds really well to this, building muscle mass at the right time, pulling back at the right time. You're actually working, and you think about like, I'm working with my menstrual cycle, so I'm working with testosterone and progesterone. Yes, and we also have like serotonin taking place. We've got insulin taking place. We've got all of these other changes that accompany those cyclical changes in women that you can be working with. And if you're like, well, wait a minute, I don't have a cycle, that's where it's great to just start moving in a way that makes you feel good. Do things that help sensitize you to insulin, which is building muscle mass, and get to eating in a program that works for you. And what do I mean by program? I just mean like, when you wake up and you eat through the day, like what actually makes you feel good? Because we see all these things about like keto is the best thing for PCOS, and intermittent fasting is the best thing for PCOS, and no carbs is the best thing for PCOS. And really the answer is like, we're very individualized. Yes, women do need carbs, and yet what we each need on that macro level when we're looking at protein, carbs, fiber really should be part of that whole discussion as well. That as we're looking at all of those things is like, what is working for you where you're at right now that makes you feel full throughout the day, that gives you energy, that doesn't make you feel sluggish, and that actually truly nourishes your body.
Today's episode of LadyGang is brought to you by PhD Feminine Health. There is a lot of stigma when it comes to talking about feminine care and feminine issues. It can be embarrassing to ask a friend or even a doctor about what's going on, but that's why we love PhD Feminine Health, because they're trying to end that stigma. And they offer trustworthy feminine care products that actually work. We love them because they're a woman-founded and owned company, and their boric acid that they use in their products is a natural compound found in seawater, and it's been recommended by doctors for decades for safe holistic alternative care. So these days, PhD believes that self-care is crucial to your overall well-being. Give the gift of self-care and love to yourself. Register now at phdfemininehealth.com/win to receive a free lifestyle subscription box from our friends at Bombay and Cedar, which contain vegan and cruelty-free deluxe-sized beauty and lifestyle products. And this is a retail value of over $100, plus a $500 Visa gift card. Go to phdfemininehealth.com/win. Also get 20% off products right now. Use code LADY. phdfemininehealth.com/win.
You're listening to the Lady Gang.
Can I selfishly ask a period question?
No, this is the next thing, is we
Okay.
each get to ask one
Okay.
question. So Becca, take it away.
Should I be concerned that I barely bleed? Like I barely on day one soak a tampon. I had heavier periods as a younger person. And now it's like, am I moving into premenopause? Like, is that a sign for that?
The end is near.
And it's just one day. You have one day of bleeding?
I have one day of like where I need a tampon, and then 2 days where when I pee and I wipe, there's a little bit there.
That must be nice.
Yeah,
Unless I'm dying.
but that's pretty light. So obviously I can't give you guys individualized medical advice, and I would sit there for an hour with you all, like asking you a million questions before I really was like, this is the thing that's happening. And plus we'd want lab tests. But what I will say is that that is a very light period, and that can be a sign that we are getting too little estrogen. But we generally have other symptoms that go on as well. Sometimes what women notice is their breasts are shrinking, or they look a little more droopy. They will start noticing fine lines, wrinkles on their face. They feel like their skin is a little bit thinner. Their lips are less full. So with that being a light period, it could be a sign of perimenopause. And perimenopause, dun, 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 starts around age 35 for a lot of us.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah, and it can be a 10 plus year endeavor of, going through these hormonal shifts. And this is like serious. I know we like keep saying this, but like seriously, this is where it comes back to working with your cycle, because the idea that perimenopause or menopause should be hell, that's an idea really rooted in all of this is really rooted in a male-centric society where like you're not supposed to be a cyclical creature, and your hormones are supposed to make you crazy and hate life, and menopause makes women the devil, and once they're postmenopausal, then that's it. They're like, society has no value for them, and I for one reject all of that. And I also want to say that when you're in perimenopause, it doesn't mean that like it has to be hell. So right now, if the ovaries are not producing, so it could be one, the ovaries are not producing enough estrogen, and stress is usually a big culprit in why we don't produce enough hormones. Hi, pandemic, we're just going strong. That's affecting like a lot of us, even though people are like, saying like, oh, we did a study and there weren't profound pandemic periods. And I'm like, but I'm talking to humans one-on-one, and I am like hearing it like all the time. So that could be one piece. Bringing in things like vitamin E, adaptogenic herbs, which Olivia was talking about before. Everybody's always like, let's target estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. And I'm always like, let's back it up. We've got a pyramid. At the base of our pyramid is our adrenal glands and insulin. And if we can set that base right, it's much easier to balance what comes right above it, which is thyroid, and at the very tippy top, which is sex hormones. So making sure you've got that foundation in place, and those adaptogens, that comes into that stress response again. So that is light. And for everybody listening, if you're like, oh my God, like I'm 35 now, and you said perimenopause starts, does that mean I won't be able to have a baby? False. Okay. The whole concept that women can't have babies after 35 and that it's so much harder, it's based on really weak, poor data. So don't even with that. There's so much that you can do with diet and lifestyle, smart supplementation to help. And, I'm 40 with a 7-month-old, so I know.
I was happy for you. I was happy.
Throw up in her mouth.
She's thinking about herself having a baby
thinking about
right now.
myself because I'm turning 40 this month and melting down.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a good
time, right?
Yeah, this is a good segue, actually. I'm going to ask me my question. So I'm turning 40 at the end of the month. And like Olivia, actually, your story really resonated with me when I was reading about you on the site and then what you said today. When I was 21, I was diagnosed with PMDD and put on a little bit of Prozac, which I'm still on. And we bumped it up since then. And then I also have Hashimoto's. So I'm like in a moods, all the moods of the world. And I guess I'm terrified of this perimenopause and menopause coming because it took me all of my lady adult life to finally feel healthy. That I'm like, oh, wait, now you're going to shift this shit on me and it's going to be totally different. And I'm just terrified. So Heather Dubrow, actually, the housewife, I was texting her about it. And And she was like, you should get your hormones tested and all your levels and put them in stone for when you're 40 so that when it starts happening, you know where your where it's gone. Grid should be. Thoughts?
Brilliant. I think that we all should have our baselines measured, tested. No, it's like when my patients are like, I feel my best, I'm like, let me run all the labs on you, and that is your baseline. That is where we want you to be. And know that, like, you're going to have physiological changes. Your ovaries are designed to quit. They're designed to stop at one point. And that's just the reality of life. And so that is going to happen. And as you get closer to menopause is a one-day event, by the way. You don't have a period for a year. Hi, you're in menopause. Okay, tomorrow you're postmenopausal. So with that, know that those hormonal shifts are going to happen. And it's usually progesterone. Well, it is progesterone that declines first. You ovulate with less frequency. And so estrogen just gets to play. And hi, Hashi's bestie. I have Hashimoto's too. So it's
really common.
It's super common, especially in women. And like once you get into your 30s, I'm like, everybody, you have to get screened because it's just so common and most people don't know they have it. And that's not me exaggerating. We actually have data to show that most people do not know that they have it. But you're right to be concerned because any hormonal fluctuation can trigger an autoimmune condition. So whether that is going through perimenopause, having a baby, I actually developed Hashimoto's as a result of having my son, so postpartum thyroiditis. Those kinds, and starting your period the first time, any kind of hormonal shift like that, our hormones are very intimately tied to our immune system. And so, yes, those fluctuations can absolutely affect your immune system. Now, I can nerd out on this, and let me just say the immune system is so complex that like it takes years for us to like learn about it. But very simply, there's these two aspects that you can really gauge within your own cycle, and we've got Th1 and Th2. Most autoimmunity is driven by Th1, and you're going to notice that autoimmune symptoms can be worse on your period and, prior to ovulation. That's a Th1 driven. And so that sometimes is the case that you can tune into these things. And then after ovulation, if you're feeling better, that's Th2's time to shine. And so that's when we might see, so you might be able to actually like predict like, okay, what is happening? When is my immune system really getting charged? And most of us, it's, from your period to ovulation. And then why we go into Th2 following ovulation, if you've ever heard like, oh, well, when you're pregnant, your immune system's like shut off. It's not shut off. It's just shifted into Th2, which is more tolerant of baby. So a lot of people, except those with Graves' disease, I'm sorry for the Graves people, but and Graves is a hyperthyroidism. A lot of people notice that in their pregnancy that their autoimmunity gets better. And then about 3 to 6 months postpartum, after you have a baby, totally. But I will say, so my first rodeo, I was thrown off the bull. My second rodeo, I really am showing, I grew up in a small town with rodeos. My second time around, I knew what to do, and I knew exactly what to look for, and I knew exactly how to intervene. And I did have a small flare, which was to be expected, but nothing like the first time. No debilitating fatigue, no weight gain, no excruciating joint pain. There was a period of like significant joint pain, but it was nothing compared to what it was like the first time. And it was because I could identify it. So I say that because if you are someone with autoimmunity listening to this, doctors will sometimes say, like, just get on the pill and don't have hormones if you notice you're cycling and things get worse. Same with PMDD. And for PMDD, sometimes the pill does work well for that because it does. Some people with PMDD, the way progesterone interacts in their brain, their receptors, like the whole system, it's not the typical display that we expect of you feeling calm. It's more like irritating, and it makes you feel a little more irrational at times. And sometimes pulling away the cyclical nature of progesterone and just putting on progestin, which is what's in these synthetic contraceptives, it doesn't interact the same way with the brain, can help you be even keel. And this is something that, if my patients choose to go that route, they're usually doing it with in mind that that's going to give them a break so they can work on the diet and lifestyle and then come off of that in the future. Did I answer your questions with all of that? Was that helpful?
I mean, listen, I'm coming to see you for a deeper dive. I know we're running out of time. I want Jack to have her question because the queen of the 2-week period needs you. And now I hope you guys have some really good ideas for stuff you can put up on the site because we got through 5 questions and I have 30 more. So Jack, take it away.
Yeah. So like I said earlier in the podcast, I'm like the opposite of Becca. I have a 7-ish day period. The first 2 or 3 days of my period, I am literally just like, it's a waterfall out of my vagina. I am bleeding through an ultra tampon every 30 minutes, blood clots, like the whole shebang. I know part of it's genetic. My mom had the same type of periods when she was younger, but is that something I should be worried about? I've done a bunch of blood panels very recently for a bunch of different reasons, but I have a normal thyroid. I am anemic that I just found out about. But other than that, like, is there anything of concern for periods that are that heavy?
Of course you are anemic. If you're bleeding that much and losing that much
no kidding.
blood, yeah, that's, and one of the best things you can do is actually eat organ meats, and nobody loves it when I say that. But what I usually recommend for my patients who are anemic is like, just get on a prenatal, because a prenatal is actually going to have higher iron. And I think it's very myopic that we're like, oh, just get the iron levels up. But you also need B12 and folate and B6 to build those red blood cells. So taking prenatal. And so for people listening, taking a prenatal will not make you get pregnant. So I always get that question. They're like, but I'll get pregnant. And I'm like, everyone struggling with infertility wishes that was the case, but it just simply is not. So yes, we should be concerned. So for everybody listening, if you are having to change a super tampon every hour or more frequently, like Jack is, if you are having to double up, so you find yourself wearing a super tampon and a pad, if you have to get up in the middle of the night to change that, if you're bleeding more than 7 days, this is all what fits into the Amenorrhea, which is very heavy periods. And some of the reasons for that, yes, it can be estrogen excess or poor estrogen metabolites, as we talk about on Hummingway, making sure during the luteal phase, that late luteal phase, and even, in your period, getting your cruciferous vegetables in, because those are going to help you with metabolizing your estrogen and putting it into the best metabolites. So the least cancer-causing metabolites and the ones less likely to stimulate that endometrial tissue. It could possibly be fibroids with the amount of pain that comes along with it, but also that pain can be due to prostaglandins. So anybody listening, if you feel like you might poop your pants or you have period diarrhea and really heavy cramps, yes, the hands are all going up. that's
I find a period poop very relaxing, but I
love
know
it. It's just like, get everything out
at once.
Like
a week of feeling like shit, you literally like poop out half your body and you're like, I'm free.
To release.
Anyway.
Progesterone, smooth muscle relaxant. So it seems like you hold on to your poop. And then on your period, you have those prostaglandins, which we have to basically have anything you need to exit the uterus. Here come the prostaglandins, but they'll also stimulate your bowels. And prostaglandins are great. They help us bring humans and tissue we no longer need out into the world. Yet they can be really, really potent if we have a diet higher in omega-6 fatty acids. So as Ashley was talking about, her shifting to that more anti-inflammatory diet, so raising those omega-3 fatty acids and then increasing magnesium and magnesium-rich foods, that can help as well. But other than fibroids, the other thing we think of when there's heavy periods and there's pain, like significant pain, we start to think about endometriosis. And as of right now, the gold standard for diagnosing endo is getting a laparoscopy, and so actually having a surgical intervention. So sometimes, just trying those little shifts and tricks can make all the difference. But, if it persists when you make those changes, and for everybody listening, making these diet lifestyle changes, if you bring on supplements, like if you bring on something like DIM and broccoli seed extract or sulforaphane to help you clear out those estrogen metabolites, get them into the right ones, and bring on Vitex to help with your progesterone levels and really optimizing that with everything else I've talked about, we want to give it like 3 months to see, do things really shift? Because unlike, we're all used to okay, okay, I have pain, I take ibuprofen, pain is gone. I'm assuming ibuprofen probably doesn't touch your pain as much as you would like it to. But natural things working with the body just doesn't work that way. And why? Because you didn't arrive at the problem that you're having overnight. You didn't. Usually we arrive at the problem that we're having, like this has been years in the making.
Well, listen, Jack, you should have got them to do that while you were getting your appendix out 2 weeks ago. We are out of time. We have so much more. But listen, the good news is, ladies, you're listening. You're like, that's me. But I wish you had talked more about this and this and this. Good news for you. Hummingway exists. You can go to the website. You can go to the Instagram, Our Hummingway, and you can look at the products. I'm assuming that there's more in the works that are coming out to help us, but there's so much information, a beautiful community. This is something that I can't believe as women we put in the back of our minds, and we just get our period and we deal with it, and then we're like worried about, you know, the throw pillows on our couch instead of worrying about taking care of our bodies. So it is 2022. Womanhood is hard. Please go to this site, check out Hummingway, find your thing, find your blogs, your posts, your community, and let's all feel a little better. Jack's going to do it for her. Becca's going to do it for her shorty period. I'm going to do it for my perimenopause. We're all going to follow along. Ashley, Olivia, Dr. Brighten, thank you so much for this time. I think this was so interesting. It's a lot. This is going to be a 3-listen where you have to go back and listen to it a couple times. It's a lot of information, but God, you're all so brilliant and smart, and congratulations on the brand, because I think this is
major.
Woo, we needed this.
Thank you guys so much for having us, and thank you for your open, honest questions and the way you approach overall reproductive health, because I think it's beautiful to see that, because I feel like, again, people are a little bit hesitant and scared sometimes to talk about these things, and you guys are so brazen and open about it, so I applaud you on that.
Oh, thank you.
And we will see you next Tuesday. Thanks for listening. The Lady Gang is produced by Alex Ingber, Steve Delameter, and Jared Monaco. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And if you love it, share it with your friends on social media. Like, oh my God, I just listened to Lady Gang. This episode's so great. Swipe up to listen. And if you really want to, which we know you do, please follow us on social. At Kelty, at Becca, at Jack Vanek, and at The Lady Gang. Sign up for our newsletter at theladygang.com and join our secret Facebook group. It's super fun. See you next Tuesday.